Why is everyone obsessed with blind boxes? The idea of buying something without knowing exactly what it is sounds like a scam, but unpredictability has become the internet's new favorite thing, with millions of videos and billions of dollars being dedicated to blind boxes. While it might seem like one in a long line of absurd TikTok trends, the concept is actually rooted in decades-old marketing gimmicks, childhood nostalgia, and a surprising amount of psychological manipulation. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the history of mystery grab bags, the growing popularity of emotional support dolls, Pop Mart's billion-dollar blind box empire, and how we're turning into a generation of gamblers. Let's get into it. In the early 1900s, department stores in Japan began selling their merchandise in unmarked bags, which they called fukubukuro, literally translated as lucky bag. This random assortment of goods were sold at a notable discount, and customers couldn't get enough of this shrewd business tactic, to the point that it's now a full-blown New Year's tradition that people line up all day for. In 1912, Cracker Jack began including a toy surprise in every box, like baseball cards, stickers, temporary tattoos, and rings. While the goal was always to eat popcorn, the gimmick was a fun addition that gave the consumer a decent amount of enjoyment at very little cost to the company. Although these Cracker Jack prizes were occasionally derided as cheap, it didn't stop other companies from taking inspiration. And in the 1940s, several brands including Kellogg, Nabisco, General Mills, and Quaker Oats began including prizes in their cereal boxes. Popular in both the US and the UK, these toys were intended to promote sales and brand loyalty, with the hopes being that a child would continue purchasing a product not only because they liked the taste, but because they wanted to collect the entire set. The strategy worked for several decades and trickled into other children's snacks like Kinder Eggs and Wonder Balls, which encased a small collectible inside of a layer of chocolate. Sure, kids were mostly interested in the sugar, but there was an added hit of dopamine when you actually got a prize that you wanted. Gumball machines had been making the rounds in the US since the late 1800s, eventually evolving to include other sweets and even small toys. In the 1960s, the machines made their way to Japan, where the prizes were packaged in individual capsules instead of loose in the machine's display. These came to be known as gachapon, gacha for the sound of a crank turning, and pon for something magically appearing. Manufacturers would often license characters from popular anime, manga, and video games for their capsule toys, prompting fans of those franchises to hunt down these limited edition items. Because you couldn't choose what you were selecting, you were at risk of getting the same item multiple times, and this randomness was both amusing and frustrating. In 1979, McDonald's launched their iconic Happy Meal, a kid-sized selection of menu items that came with a small toy. While initially themed around McDonald's itself, once they got licensing deals with other franchises, they started churning out more elaborate toy sets. This saw a huge increase in repeat customers, since you had no other choice but to purchase multiple Happy Meals if you wanted to complete the set. And I vividly remember terrorizing my local McDonald's until I was able to get my hands on every Finding Nemo toy. Since 1996, the Pokémon trading card game has had its fair share of fans, understandably so considering the popularity of the TV show and video game. And if you grew up in the 2000s, odds are you saw someone showing off their Charizard or Eevee card on the playground. While booster packs, a sealed assortment of Pokémon cards, have been sold for ages, in 2020 they saw a spike in popularity, something credited to the combination of social media and the pandemic. Not only were people looking for something fun and nostalgic to remind them of less stressful days, but also a hobby they could enjoy solo. Pokémon cards fit this to a T, and the hype reached a point that Logan Paul even documented himself hunting down the rarest cards he could find. Unfortunately, Pokémon wasn't prepared for the size of Paul's audience, leading to a months-long shortage, and stories started rolling in about children getting scammed out of their collections and unopened packs being resold for hundreds of dollars by scalpers. But this was just the beginning, and other surprise formats like blind boxes have since achieved similar levels of virality with equally rabid fan bases. Inspired by fukubukuro and gachapon, a blind box refers to a sealed package that contains one item from a larger series. The catch is that you don't know which one you've gotten until you've already opened it. Each series is built around a specific theme or aesthetic, with characters being differentiated by their outfits, expressions, or accessories. They're cute, collectible, and outright addictive. One of the first blind boxes to gain notable attention in the 2020s were Sonny Angels, a line of figurines created by Toru Soya and manufactured by Dreams Incorporated. Inspired by American Kewpie characters from the early 1900s, which also served as the inspiration for the popular Japanese mayo, Sonny Angels were first introduced in 2004 as a standard doll. The Japanese economy wasn't in a great place at the time, so they reconfigured the doll to be smaller and cheaper, marketing it as a companion that young working women could keep with them at all times, with Soya even referring to them as a pocket boyfriend. They remained a rather niche collectible for several years, but in 2021 they started to gain traction on social media, and a few years later they were fully mainstream, with celebrities like Iris Law, Rosalia, and Victoria Beckham sharing their love of Sonny Angels. SNL even did a skit dedicated to them, joking about the toy's origins as a boyfriend. This sudden increase in popularity put significant stress on the manufacturers, resulting in a brief shortage that forced retailers to impose purchasing limits to keep up with demand. This scarcity led to the rise of Sonny Angel black markets, with people reselling blind boxes for 5 to 10 times their usual price, something the company wasn't too pleased about, with Dreams Incorporated's US Vice President saying, quote, "What we're seeing in the marketplace is very frustrating for us, because we want Sonny Angel to be an affordable, comforting purchase." With their round eyes, legs, and tummies, Sonny Angels trigger an evolutionary response, the same one we get when we see a baby or a puppy. Not only do we find these features charming and cute, but we have an innate desire to protect them. This was something Soya was very mindful of when designing Sonny Angels, as he wanted the toys to appeal to women's maternal instincts while still having a bit of independence, which is why they're depicted standing instead of crawling and have a slightly cheeky look on their faces. All Sonny Angels have something on their heads, with different variations being more or less common than others. And now more than 20 years old, there are hundreds of Sonny Angels to collect that are themed around various concepts like holidays, flowers, fruits, and animals. As if acknowledging the impact social media has had on sales in recent years, they've even released a new line known as hippers, who have a flat surface that can be attached to phones or laptops, making it even easier for the chronically online to have their Sonnies with them at all times. To tie into their cherubic appearance, Sonny Angels are rarely given clothing, leading to the rise of a separate market dedicated solely to dressing them up. And I actually love this additional customization myself. This nudity is also the biggest criticism of Sonny Angels, with people saying the design choice is inappropriate considering the dolls resemble babies. I guess we'd better stop putting Cupid on Valentine's Day cards too. Toru Soya is also responsible for the creation of smiskis, which were first introduced in 2015. Somewhat reminiscent of the tree spirits in Princess Mononoke, these dead-eyed little dudes come in a variety of poses and can glow in the dark, although they don't actually want to be noticed. Unlike Sonny Angels, who are designed to cater to women, smiskis are more gender neutral, with their appeal being less about their appearance and more about the personalities and behaviors that they're acting out. There are now over a dozen series that include 6 unique characters and a single secret smiski, which you have a 1 in 144 chance of getting. Since they're meant to live silently among you, they don't get up to anything particularly outlandish. It's more relatable, like putting on jeans, using the bathroom, or getting ready for bed. While some might say that they're too emotionless, I'd argue that their blank faces give them more range. Are they bored? Are they shocked? Are they annoyed? That's up to you. The biggest name in the blind box game is without a doubt Pop Mart, a Chinese company that collaborates with different artists to develop exclusive characters. Started in 2010, they now have hundreds of outlets and vending machines around the world, and despite initial concerns about their expansion into Western markets, they seem to be doing just fine, at least if TikTok is to be believed. Pop Mart is responsible for many of the blind boxes that you see on social media, like Hirono, Molly, Nyota, Skull Panda, and the Monsters, with the latter spawning the incredibly popular character Labubu. The monsters were originally created by artist Ka-Sing Lung in 2015 for his picture book series, with the characters being loosely inspired by Nordic folklore. Lung first collaborated with Pop Mart in 2019, but the figures didn't become a worldwide phenomenon until 2024, after Lisa from Blackpink was spotted with them, and she's since made her love of Labubu and the blind box format well known. Several other celebrities have hopped onto the Monsters train since, including Emma Roberts, Kim Kardashian, Rosé, Dua Lipa, Central C, Hilary Duff, and Rihanna, and they've also become a popular motif in the fashion space as a bag charm. All of the characters have a similar brand of ugly cute, but Labubu is without a doubt the most popular, with her mischievous and monstrous appearance being a fun contrast to her playful and friendly personality. Yes, you heard that right, she's a girl. I personally don't get the Labubu hype. But I clearly seem to be in the minority, with some people even going as far as breaking into people's cars to get their hands on rare labubus. The monstrous blind boxes typically sell for between $40 and $90 on PopMart, but their sudden virality has made them near impossible to get your hands on, with the website selling out instantly and some dolls even being resold for thousands of dollars. Like just about anything that gets extremely popular nowadays, dupes and knockoffs have sprung up in an attempt to cash in on the craze, with hundreds of people accidentally purchasing what are now colloquially referred to as lafufus. Unlike the original PopMart products, they come with unusual quirks as a result of their rush production, like wonky eyes, additional teeth, or bald heads, which create a generally cursed appearance. Funnily enough, the lafufus have been so well documented on social media that people are now joking about trying to collect them instead of labubus. Blind boxes have proven themselves an incredibly profitable business, with PopMart earning $1.8 billion in 2024, a significant increase from $870 million in 2023. And some industry analysts are even predicting that blind boxes could be bringing in over $20 billion by 2026. Really let that sink in. $20 billion. But I suppose I shouldn't be surprised, considering the average blind box haul is at least $100, and there are millions of them. As we've already mentioned, part of the appeal of blind boxes are the characters themselves, with consumers gravitating towards designs they find interesting or personality types they relate to. If you're a bit of a crybaby, then you'll probably like Crybaby. If you like J fashion, then you'll probably like the Riot Girls. And if you like strawberries, then you need the Strawberry Sonny Angel. They aren't just a toy, they're a pint-sized representation of yourself. Not to mention that in this economy, bigger luxuries like a designer bag or a fancy vacation just don't really feel attainable, whereas little treats like a nice coffee or a blind box feel justifiable. After all, what's wrong with spending $20 every now and then, right? But let's be honest, what's really driving blind box sales is the unpredictability. Apart from the usual fulfillment we get whenever we buy something, blind boxes are able to tap into even more emotions. First, there's a feeling of anticipation, where you're wondering if you're going to get the exact figurine you wanted, which is immediately followed by either gratification or disappointment. If you got one that you wanted, you'll mistakenly believe Lady Luck is looking your way, and you'll inevitably get another one just to see if you can repeat your prior success. But on the chance you lose, you're left feeling dejected, which you'll try to remedy by trying again and again and again until finally you're a winner. Because we're so tied to the product emotionally, it creates a never-ending cycle that prompts us to continue purchasing, even when we know the odds aren't in our favor, and soon enough you'll be buying them just to try to recreate the rush. If that sort of impulsive behavior sounds a lot like gambling, that's because it effectively is. The risk and reward process is just disguised with sparkles and pastels. And considering the size of some of the blind box collections I've seen online, I'd definitely say some people have moved from fan territory to all-out addicts. In general, the trend of blind boxes and other mystery items seems to be reflective of how prevalent instant gratification has become in modern times. If your Amazon order takes more than a day to arrive, it's the end of the world. Instead of saving up for a dress that you saw, just buy the cheap dupe instead. And if you're feeling down, get a dopamine hit by opening up 5 blind boxes in a row. Obviously, people have been collecting things forever. Just look at the Beanie Babies people insisted were going to be worth thousands of dollars someday. But it feels like in the 2020s, more and more items are being touted as the next big collectible than ever before. There were Stanley water bottles, Squishmallow plushies, and now, labubus. It's just good old-fashioned overconsumption masquerading as a hobby. I personally think what we're seeing unfold on social media with blind boxes is more hoarding than it is collecting. And I know people are going to ask, what's the difference anyway? And if you ask me, it's time, passion, knowledge, and intentionality. You curate a collection. You aren't buying whatever you see that happens to relate to it. As someone with a fondness for cute knickknacks, I completely understand the initial appeal of blind boxes, but after doing my first unboxing earlier this year, I was struck by the sheer waste of it all. I'm not just talking about the basic premise of buying something and potentially not getting what you wanted, but all of the packaging that it comes in. It was like my own personal trash island, and I did not feel good about it. Like any trend, people will inevitably move on. I just wonder how many Sonny Angels will wind up in the dump when the blind box bubble does burst. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye!